Hello,
Hello,
boys and
boys and
girls.
girls.
Have you ever wondered what Bond's polarity is? Of course not, because you have no ideas what any of that even mean.
However, today we are going to help explain this very scary topic so that it makes sense to you and you can finally wonder what bond polarity is. In order to talk about scary bond polarity, we must first talk about the basics, the reason why bond polarity even exists. It all starts with the protons and the electrons. These guys are super tiny, itsy bitsy balls that are so small you can't see them with your own eyes. And they like to act as if they are the two different sides of a magnet, always attracted to each other. Electrons spin around protons like the planets around the sun, never too close that they touch, and they can vary in distance from the protons. Protons, however, bunch together to form the center that all the electrons circle around, except they don't really like to. Remember how I said that electrons and protons are like two different sides of a magnet? If you manage to put two and two together, this means that protons and other protons are like the same sides of a magnet, just like electrons and other electrons. So, like magnets with the same sides facing each other, protons would rather just move away from each other. So, why are they clumped together then? That's because protons have a secret buddy with them neutrons. These guys are also super duper tiny balls, but they don't act like magnets at all. Instead, they stick around where the protons hang out and glue them together so that all of them can hug together nicely, even if they don't want to. Kind of like when your mom is friends with the annoying kid's mom and you're forced to hang out with them. We call this bunch of protons and neutrons the nucleus. And then, when we take the whole entire thing with the electrons spinning around the nucleus, we finally have the atom.
And here is where things get sticky. Sticky. It's all because of chemical bonds. And okay, hold on. What does the word bonds means? Bond is like a connection between things, like a puzzle pieces. Chemical bond is where an atoms find another atoms to form a loving relationship as a couple. They can share its electron together or steal its electron from another atom so that it can have it as its own electron to satisfy their own trip. There are two types of chemical bonds, covalent bond and ionic bond. When one atom takes electron from another atom, that extra electrons give these atoms a minus sign known as negative charge, and the other atom become a plus sign known as positive charge since it lost an electron. In other words, these atoms become ions when an atom lose or gain electrons. Since the positive and negative charge are two different sides of a magnet, they like to attract. They stick together, creating love, so they are very happy together. This is called ionic bond. When an atom tends to share electrons with other atoms, they love each other and are happy since they both need one more electrons and find electrons that they need to satisfy their dream, so they stick together. This is called covalent bond. And you might be wondering why there are two types of bonds in the first place. Well, as he was saying that not all atoms are the same, an atom can have more or less protons, neutrons, and electrons than the other. This leads them to have different strengths called electronegativity, or how strong the atoms take the electrons from another. If an atom has the same electronegativities as the other atom, these atoms will share electrons together. Sounds familiar? It's a covalent bond. If an atom has more electronegativities than the other atom, these atoms will not share electrons together. Instead, one atom will take away electrons from another atom. You guessed it, it's an ionic bond.
Since we already covered the basics, let's finally talk about bond polarity. Remember when we talked about two bonds? Well, there's a bit more to that. Ionic and covalent bonds are just the two extremes, or simply the two ends of the stick. But just like a stick, there's some middle ground in between the two ends, and this middle ground is known as bond polarity, or more like the level of the bond's electron sharing. Between the covalent and ionic bonds, there are polar bonds. It starts at nonpolar covalent, the normal covalent bond, when the atoms share the electrons equally with each other. However, as their want for more electrons becomes greater, the way the electrons are shared starts to become different. The atom who wants more electrons will start to try and keep them longer than they're supposed to, which becomes longer and longer until the atom's want for electrons have become so different from its partner that it would just rob its partner of their electrons completely.
Well, to make understanding polarity a bit easier, we can look at it in terms of a tug of war. Imagine two people are the atom and the rope is the electrons. When both people are the same strength, nobody's get more than the other and everything is even. However, not all people are the same strength. Some people can have a little bit stronger than the other and win more rope. The other person hasn't lost the rope, they just have now less of it to themselves. And finally, the difference in strength can be so great, so wide that the person will yank the rope out of your hand and win it all. And you'll be left begging them for a rematch. Now you understand more about Bond's polarity. Let's check for understanding. And now the tortoise comes to an end. Thanks Timoy for being through with me creating this video. So Timoy, what's your opinion about this video that you've been through, like the project?
Well, to wrap things up, this project was just one big sad boy fiesta, I never thought this would take so long. I didn't know this would be so tedious. And honestly, I'm just glad this entire thing is just over. I've been working more every night than I have ever in my life. And anytime that there's free time for us, you gotta implant a project within that free time. You gotta implant something, or else we can't exist without doing work. All right, that's the plan. That's the game plan. We can't exist without having to do something with our brain. We can't relax. We're not allowed to. All right, that's what the school wants. They don't want us to continue working even though we don't want to. When we're supposed to be having a break, they want us to continue working. It doesn't matter how small the work might be, how little the work might be. All right, you can give me 5 questions, I'm still doing work. You can give me an essay, I'm still doing work. But this time it's a lot more. Stop giving work. It's a break. Just let me enjoy the break. Stop giving me work. Please. This is a PSA to all those teachers out there. Please stop. It's not fun. It's not good. I want to enjoy my breaks. I feel like I'm doing more work right now during this break than I have been doing work throughout the actual weeks when I have school. Something is wrong. I shouldn't be doing more work during the breaks. This needs to end. Please.